All right, so our function is going to follow the formula x plus 1 whenever x is greater than 2, and it'll follow the formula x minus 1 whenever x is less than or equal to 2. You can go to Desmos to see what these curves look like individually. In Desmos, we can just type in what they asked for, so we could do f of x equals x plus 1. And then we can do f of x equals x minus 1. And we can see both functions side by side. So these are just line equations. And what this is saying is we want to follow the x plus 1 formula only when x is greater than 2. So you look at the x's on the x-axis. This is an important point here, where x is 2. And they are saying that we'll follow this formula anywhere to the right of that boundary, but we will follow the other formula for whenever x is to the left of that boundary. Now you have to pay close attention to when there's a line under the inequality. That means that 2 is going to be part of that interval. So we actually want a solid dot here, and we want an open dot here. And that's going to be the graph of our piecewise-defined function. So I can remove the background now. And that's the graph that we're looking for. How would I actually go about finding the actual coordinates by hand if I didn't have Desmos? I would make a table like this. Have x's, and then we can do f of x. And come up with some different x's that you might plug in, like -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Now you have to decide what formula to plug in for f of x depending on the x you have. There's an important cutoff here at 2. So anywhere to the right of 2, we're going to follow the formula x plus 1 whenever x is greater than 2. If x is less than or equal to 2, we follow the formula x minus 1. So I'm just saying that those are the formulas that I would use for each of these. So we'll do -2 minus 1 here. Takes us to -3. -1 minus 1 is -2. 0 minus 1 is -1, and so on. So I'm just plugging in like I would have in other problems that we did to get coordinate pairs that I can plot. I can now plot the point -2, -3, -1, -2, and so on. All right, I'm going to plot all those points. All right, now let's follow the other formula. Now we do 3 plus 1, because now we're in a different section of the function, right? So now we'd get this, and our pairs become 3, 4, 4, 5, because we're following a different formula now. And we get that. Now we just try to connect them. But you have to look very carefully about the point where we cross over from one function to the other. So what's going to happen is the red will go all the way up to this point, but it shouldn't touch it. That's because we have a greater than sign without an equal underneath it. It's asking me to say what the output should be for different inputs. So let's let the input be 0. Which one are they talking about there? They're specifically talking about this coordinate pair right here, where the input is 0 and the output is -1. That point is this one right here that they're talking about. Now, since they want f of 0, they want the y value of that point right there. So that point is, of course, 0, -1. The input is 0. And we revealed already that the output would be -1, and so that's what it wants here for the answer to that -1. Alright, you can try it on the rest of these. Just look at the input and see whether it is in this region or is it in that region. Because if it's in this region, you want to plug your input into that formula. If your x, though, is less than or equal to 2, then you want to plug your x into that formula. Alright, so I'll let you try it. Yeah. B says to let the input of the function be x equals 1. So you want to look at your different domains for the different parts of this piecewise defined function and decide which rule does it follow. Does that 1 fit into the upper section, or would it actually be in agreement with the lower statement here? So 1 is less than 2. So we actually want to follow the lower formula here, do x minus 1. So that's what we want to do. We want to do x minus 1. The x that they're asking us to plug in is 1. So 0 is going to be our output. Now, where is this on the graph? We said that this was the point that is discussed in part A. This is the point that's being discussed in part B, f of 1. So we are still on the x minus 1 formula. If we go to x's that are greater than 2, then we'll follow the x plus 1 formula. Now, they want the input to be 1.99. We see that 1.99 is less than 2. And so for that reason, we want to follow the formula of x minus 1 still. So we'll use x minus 1. 1.99 minus 1 makes 0.99. Now, which point are they talking about here? They're talking about a point that's really close to the edge there, but it's still on the blue line. Now they're talking about f of 2. And since 2 is equal to 2, that's still true, we will still use x minus 1. So 2 minus 1 makes 1. And that's going to be pretty much right where C is as well. But then they ask for f of 2.01. 2.01 is greater than 2. So we will now switch formulas to x plus 1. And we get 3.01. So now, where are we? We would be right here on the edge. We're really close to the cutoff, but we're on the red line now. That is E.